Mr. Sneeden.
So moved.
Second.
Good
All in
double
favor?
play combination.
Horace, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we need a motion to adopt our agenda for today.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, we have two walk-in items.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot which that. We've got, we do have two walk-in items on our agenda today that'll come under the executive director's report. We have two resolutions that Ken will present for acceptance or for vote.
Right, and if I might note what those resolutions are, they're in front of you. One is a resolution to accept the special appropriation of $30 million. We discovered that in the notice of award packet that we needed a resolution. So we're bringing that forward. And then as staff, we realized that Water Week, the celebration of drinking water, will occur before your next meeting. So we're bringing forward a resolution for the recognition of Water Week. So since you've adopted your resolution, there's a need to amend the resolution. You've adopted your agenda, there's a need to amend the resolution agenda to accept the two resolutions.
I make a motion that we do just what?
I'll second your motion.
All right, all in favor?
I saw that on the Lower Cape Fear, and I was reading over it and said national drinking. We got, hell, that was last week. I didn't see the water.
Two different things. Next, we have the approval of our minutes from our March meeting, Mr. Hackman.
In the March meeting, minutes in the packet, need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public comments? Speak.
No, sir, I do not believe we have any. Nope, we do not.
Okay. Moving on, next, I've asked our CFO, John McLean, to go to the podium for a public hearing and adoption of our year 23 STCs. With that, I will open the public hearing.
Sure, I'll go ahead and just say a few words. You know, we've prepared the SDC calculation for FY23 in accordance with state law. We presented that last month. For water, it's $2,230 for a single ERU and $2,160 for a single sewer SDC. We've published the calculation to the website in accordance with state statute and haven't received any comments. And so kind of the last step in the statutorily prescribed procedure is to have this public hearing where the public's invited to come and comment on the calculation.
And we don't have anybody.
We don't have anybody. So if you so desire, you can close the public hearing and can invite a motion to adopt.
Okay with that?
Motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, John. Next, we have our consent agenda. There are 12 items before you for review and approval today. Anyone have any comments on the items? Or we'll take a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Before attorney's report.
I don't have anything today, nor a closed session.
Okay. Next, our executive director's report. Mr. Alter.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair, board members. We have before you your key indicators report, your environmental report, your safety report, and this meeting you have your quarterly CIP report. Staff stands ready to answer any questions.
Mr. Chair. Ken, thanks. There are just a couple items I'd just like to flesh out a little bit. I noticed in the turnover rate in the key indicators that we've discussed at great length about the issues with customer service, and I understand that. The one that caught my eye is the water treatment turnover at 17.5%. Is that about money? Because I would have thought those would be pretty stable jobs out at the water treatment plant.
Well, like many of our positions, it's tied to the tight labor market. In addition, those positions require certifications. So we have a much smaller labor pool. And when we provide the education for certification, they become very competitive with neighboring utilities that are also looking to hire. So it's a consequence of several things.
When you say neighboring, are we talking Brunswick County?
Pender County, wherever folks can commute, and water treatment, or similarly, maintenance technologist is also another certification in terms of maintaining the infrastructure on the water and wastewater side. Those certifications make people quite competitive.
And I know we're going to discuss some of this later in this meeting. I appreciate that. The other thing, and I apologize for the detail on this, but you know I like these things. The Southside wastewater treatment plant, the interococci levels seem to be going up, especially when compared to a year before. I know we don't have March's numbers on that, but is that of concern, or is there a particular reason that's driving that data point?
Carl or Beth, would you like to answer that?
Sure. I think a lot of the numbers related to some of the wastewater ones tend to go up in the wintertime. The water gets colder, the bugs are not as active, and things will not settle as easily. So we see things generally kind of trend up. And then as the water warms up again, come here in the springtime, things will start coming back down.
Coming back down. Okay. In comparison to the year before, it was, I hear what you're saying, Carl. In other words, be patient. It's going to come back down.
And we monitor it very closely, obviously, to make sure we stay within our permit.
This has none. In other words, this has nothing to do with some of the issues we're having with the Southside wastewater treatment plant, any of our equipment or anything.
No, everything's working properly. We're actually running some other pilot tests right now, and that's will be reflective in next month's numbers. But everything's running very good right now.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Rowe?
With going back to the previous comments about certification of water treatment plant, where do they get their certification?
Well, they may get a you have to have experience to get a certification. You can acquire provisional certification from the state, but generally the way these work out is you have to apply and work at a location that's willing to train you. And then after you have that experience, go take an examination and show proficiency on the examination, which allows the state to certify you. So it's much like the certification you might see with law enforcement. And we have a similar problem to our partners in law enforcement, where we may train somebody, help them acquire certification, and then a more competitive offer is provided.
Well, also in our fire department, I think the city, we just took care of that last meeting with back to our results of our pay study. We got them up, and our overall package that we offer is hands above our neighboring competitors. But I know that a young person coming in will leave and go across the river for $1,000 a year. That's understandable. But when they go to work at a neighboring entity, they have to have that same certification that we require, or is theirs less and ours is more?
No, they have to have the same certification. But inside of your budget agenda, we have bundled within that a recommendation for pay and compensation that we believe will try to move the needle in the other direction.
So there's no expense to the authority for them getting their certification other than work experience. I guess what I'm trying to get at here, Ken, is are they taking advantage of the fact that they're not having to spend their dollars getting these people certified and on the payroll?
Most utilities pay for the cost of the examination, the school that comes with it, because they do have to go to a
What kind of dollars are
school.
we talking about here? Just roughly.
I can't tell you off the top of my head. When I went through it, it was a couple of $1,000s 25 years ago.
Okay. We're talking about, does anybody in the room know about what it costs now?
We can,
They have different grade level certifications, so the time you go to school and all, it's at least $1,000. You have hotel stays, and like this. They used to offer twice a year testing, but they put out one for schools that way, so.
If they steal from us, we need to steal from them.
I understand. What we'll do is we'll respond back in next week's weekly update with a article on the program and how it's managed. Our program's probably not unique, so other utilities also pay for the school, the examination, and the time necessary to acquire both. Unlike some large police departments or fire departments which have academies, whereas small municipalities do not. In the utility business, most utilities pay for that.
Ken, do we have a professional development policy within, say, our water treatment plant that would take those at the lower level and actually encourage them through either bonuses or incentives to get that certification?
There is an incentive program, and we can get you details on that when we describe how these certifications are acquired. And we'll do all of that in the weekly update, not this Friday, but next.
Thanks.
Thanks, sir.
So we'll have the two walk-in items.
So we'll move on to the two walk-in resolution items you have before you. The first is resolution to accept the $30 million special appropriation. Mr. Walker.
And first, we apologize for walking items in. That's not a process that we would want to make normal, but because these two resolutions are important, we think you would want to move them forward. The walk-in resolution that we're asking for is a resolution to accept the American Rescue Plan funding offer of $30 million. You may recall that we received a special appropriation. And normally you see these types of resolutions at the beginning of an application process. There were several on the consent agenda. Because this was a special appropriation, it was not required at the beginning of the process, but we were surprised as your staff to learn in the acceptance letter that it was required at the end of the process. As staff, we recommend a motion to accept the American Rescue Plan Act funding offer of $30 million to construct the Northern Regional Pump Station and Force Main improvements.
I'll move that item.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution passes. And the next resolution,
Yes, sir. The next resolution is a resolution recognizing Drinking Water Week. Every week, the every year for the last 40 years, the American Water Works Association and other professional associations have promoted a week to recognize the importance of drinking water and to encourage our community to learn about the resources that they have in terms of drinking water. And this year, that week occurs May 1st through 7th. And we were going to bring it forward in May and realized that we would bring it forward after it had occurred. So as your staff, we recommend approval of a resolution recognizing May 1st through 7th, 2022 as Drinking Water Week.
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Next, we'll move on to our committee reports. Executive Committee met April 6th, and the minutes are in your packet.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Quick question. I was briefly looking through that last night. I'm curious about, to jog everyone's memory, we passed a resolution last June asking that our staff reach out to the legislature about the possibilities, in coordination with other utilities in the state, about the possibility of expanding our menu of options in terms of affordability and figuring out how we can facilitate those small group of customers that run into financial trouble every month. And I'm wondering what the status of that resolution is. If we now have a lobbyist, is that correct?
We do. What we would like to do is, after adoption of the budget, we would like to bring to at least two committees, the Executive Committee and Sustainability Committee, probably others, a recommendation of a portfolio of activities for your executive director, for your legal team, and for the lobbyist. And we just need to understand, is this going to be part of that portfolio? There'll be other things that we will also bring forward, like continued recommendation of working with a lobbyist and using them to try to leverage additional funding, resolve PFAS issues. We may seek to align with Fayetteville PWC and others around opposition to interbasin transfers. And what we brought to the executive committee was just an awareness that we have that resolution plus many other things to work on, and we wanted to lay out next year what are the exact activities that we want to undertake with your executive director, your legal team, and the lobbyist. So after the budget adoption, we'll bring forward that portfolio for conversation, if that's acceptable.
That sounds great. Go ahead.
Well, I'll say, and also, kind of the first thing you mentioned there is what we discussed is the importance of, if we're going to be looking at different options and maybe setting some, there's an opportunity to set some kind of precedence, is talking to, having time to talk to all these other utilities and make sure that everybody's on the same page with the direction. So we're not doing something that they're not aware of. So there's a coordination effort that Ken's going to work on too. So we're not, we're just all in coordination with each other doing the same
Yeah,
thing.
absolutely. That was going to be my follow-up, because I know you and Beth have lots of contacts in the utility industry throughout the state. And I was wondering if there was an evolving sense that something might need to be done. Or is it just too early to know?
On that particular topic, there is a lot of activity to try to lobby for permanent funding of the low-income household water assistance program. And the week after Easter, I and several others will be going to Washington to talk to staff in the various levels about continuing that. We're also having conversations with the local congressional delegation about those activities. That seemed to be a pretty clear directive that we want to establish something on the federal level. On the state level, we really need to understand what is the work plan that you would like your executive director and our team to undertake. So we're going to lay out a work plan with options for the next year and get the appropriate feedback to see what is appropriate at the state level.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that update. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next, Finance Committee. Ms.
Can I,
Adams?
excuse me, something occurred to me. We're talking about, and what y'all just said, I hope it materializes, but the statute that we operate under prevents us from classing our ratepayers
By income.
by income. Is money that's coming from way without and coming into our coffers treated differently than ratepayer funds coming in?
There are customer assistance programs outside of our direct control that we partner with that use the authorizations both on the federal level and state level to provide social need. And those have needs-based income limits and eligibility criteria. So that's well established. There are no authorities at the state level for us to class customers by eligibility to pay. There are no authorities at the state level to allow us to use enterprise funds from the authority to fund a customer assistance program. Both of those are barriers right now.
Counties and cities can do it.
Exactly.
That's the
Understand that.
thing, yeah.
And we did when we had water and sewer.
Right.
Does the Raleigh, are all the authorities like us operating under that same general statute?
Yes, but they're not that many authorities, and counties and cities have the same statute as far as their water enterprise fund, but they can do it under community development and other programs that they have the authority to do, which we are not a part of because we're not a.
And that's always the thing that's stuck in my craw. It feels like red tape. I hate red tape. And it feels like red tape.
But that's
it feels
what-
like
that's-
accidentally we got caught in this situation.
Well, we didn't get caught in it. That was done very purposefully. You know, the general statute we were given to operate under has those rules and regulations, and we didn't have the authority to sit here and say, well, we're gonna do this regardless of what the statute says. That's why it always, because we were very cognizant of that all these years that I've been here. And to hear these things, I just was curious as to how we maneuver around that.
I think the one thing is now there is more funding out there, and obviously we have good partners in the county and the city that are set up to do that. It's like CFPUA is just beating the drum to try to get that money. I mean, kind of like we did with the COVID money, is everybody partnering together. So CFPUA is not, I mean, right, even with the COVID, I mean, we weren't necessarily identified, but we're being aggressive in trying to see what's out there to get the funding, and then the logistics of that using our partners and resources, I mean, seems logical.
Well, I hear you, but, I mean, for example, the county, we borrowed money from the county with the Kirkland pump station. We paid it back. You know, but are we looking, because the city and the county, that was not part of the, when this entity was birthed, that wasn't part of it. You're on your own. We're giving you every bit of our assets, county and city. Here it is. Take it and run with it. Don't be coming back wanting us to, I'm not trying to be flip here, but that's the way it was set up. And if we get these programs that can come in and help these folks in this hour of need, fine. But I just want to make sure that's not something that's coming in, you know, that ratepayers are going to be asked or required to pay for those programs.
So what we will do after adoption of the budget is at various committee levels, refine what guidance that you're giving to our team. What we believe we've heard to date is work on the federal level, which we're doing, and work on the local level to encourage our partners to expand their funding, which they have. To the county and city's great credit, in the budget proposals before both is an increase of funding from $10,000 to $50,000, 25 each. So that's clear direction we feel like we've received, and we're working in that direction. In a portfolio of lobbying activities, we need to know what is the boundary conditions of working at the state level. And it's going to require a lot of conversation in the committees to understand what those are, because that will become my charge. It will become my work, part of my work items, and it may become part of the work items of the lobbyists. We've got to put dollars against what activities and likelihood of success. So that's a lot of work that we're going to bring to you in the months after adoption of the budget. So then the following year, hopefully we have reached some success in that portfolio you give us.
Mr. Chair, if I could comment, Charlie, you put your finger once again on the frustration that I felt when we had both the city and the county put in $500,000 during the COVID. And the intent on my part, and I was wrong, was that money would then be developed into just the kind of fund that we're talking about here, external money coming in to take care of this problem. We ended up only spending $350,000, $390,000 of that, and the city and the county both clawed back the rest of that money. We had that there and ready to go and stand up, but it, because of the COVID regulations around it, and I get it, I hate it, talk about your bureaucracy. We'd already, as a county and city, had identified it, put the resources in, but it got pulled back. And now we're coming back and looking at funding at a much lower level, and that's part of the frustration, is now how can we build that back up again? I think $50,000, just my opinion, and we'll work it through the committee levels. I think it needs to be much more to create a sustainable fund. So.
The finance, Ms. Adams?
Okay, so the minutes from the Finance Committee last week are in your packet. And John has the monthly financial update.
Okay, so just very briefly, kind of our progress through the year through February, the end of February. You can see that our total unrestricted fund balance number is just over $70 million. That's actually a little bit down from what was reported last month as of the end of January. You can see kind of how the breakdown of the activity through the year. is going on the operating side. You can see a pretty large number here, $5.3 million of revenues in excess of our expenditures. Again, driven by some outperformance in our water and wastewater fixed and volumetric charges. And then also, as we've discussed in previous months, that our capital spend and our transfers over to capital that are funded from those ratepayer dollars are not being spent quite as rapidly as they were in prior years. You can kind of see this appropriation is $18 million, so we're roughly 50% through it, but we're 2/3 through the year as of the end of February. On the revenue side, just wanted to highlight just a couple of things. I mean, you can see that outperformance that I was mentioning right here, that kind of manifests itself in terms of this 81, almost 82%, and this 80% compared to, now again, this is March instead of February, being 3/4 through the year. One thing I wanted to mention, and it doesn't really affect kind of our total revenue picture, but it might look kind of strange to you that this actuals under our investment earnings is negative, and that is just a kind of an accounting requirement there. We're required to recognize both realized and unrealized gains. And so what you see is our investment portfolio, when we bought lower interest rates, right, we've seen rates come up over the past couple of months, and what that means is the value of those investments are relatively lower. Now, those are unrealized gains. They would only be realized gains if we were to sell those securities prior to maturity, and we never do that. So this is just kind of a timing difference, and it'll all even out as these investments get closer to maturity. This negative balance right here is going to reverse out. So it's not a concern. Take any questions if you have them.
Just one question. The back on the capital spending.
Sure.
We do anticipate that 18 million will be spent between now and our fiscal year end, correct?
So Carl, Frank, Julia, and Craig Wilson, who's our project manager, I guess the head of our project management division, met, I guess that was last Friday? And just we're looking at those projections, and we are anticipating to fully spend that $18 million. If not fully spend it, come really close. So, but if we don't, those dollars in theory would just kind of roll up in that surplus number, and they would increase fund balance, and we would have options in later years, to offset debt, to fund capital projects, some potential shortfalls. I mean, we fully remedied that, but I mean, if inflation keeps going at the pace that it is, we may have some other shortfalls as well. So, I mean, that money will just sit, and we'll plan to do something with it to the benefit of our customers. So, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Rob.
Thanks. John, I know at the county we're seeing as much as 30% increase on our capital projects, both labor and materials. Are we seeing the same thing here with CFPUA?
We're seeing, and I think Carl and Frank can maybe speak in more detail, but that is a big challenge for us. And I think, part of the CIP development this year was to cover some of those shortfalls. I think the number was around, was it $17 million? In shortfalls. I think those have been remedied for now, but kind of what I was saying earlier is if inflation continues, we may see future shortfalls that we'll have to deal with. But all of those shortfalls have been fixed either mid-year this year or as part of the appropriations that are included in the recommended FY23 capital budget.
Are we seeing percentage-wise, so in the ballpark of 30%?
I think it's a range. I mean, I think materials are more than labor,
Yeah.
but I mean, do you guys want to?
Materials, PVC pipe is running, over 100% more than what it was 2 years ago. So, and then there's long lead times as well for some of those major items.
Thanks, Frank.
I'm just curious, how could PVC pipe double in a year?
Petroleum.
Just petroleum.
Demand.
Based on petroleum.
So,
And transportation.
but it
Oh, yeah.
goes up quicker than it
It doesn't come down.
It may not-
No, it comes down, just stays up.
Yeah, okay.
Funny how that works.
I had one follow-up question too, again, into the details. It's on my page 260, it's in the details behind that, under the administration. I noticed that we're running, at 81.21%. And it seems to be under the operating column of administration.
Is this the page right here?
No, I keep going. There it is, right there. It's second paragraph down, it says administration.
Mm-hmm.
In the far right there, it says 81.2%, and it appears like the increases are in the operating. Is that because of a hire, or, sorry, what's driving that?
Legal for PFAS.
What?
Right.
Legal fees for PFAS.
Okay.
I'll be damned.
We're in the middle of discovery.
Discovery, so those-
A lot of
those-
time and effort on
So that's all
discovery.
legal. Wow.
How much is it?
That's
I
a
can't see
good-
it.
Yeah, I know, yes. $730,000.
This is just a look at, we
Yeah,
have this,
I see.
this update, and you can see our legal to date.
And unfortunately, you can't see it, but that is not all for the lawyers. The lawyers have contracted with our expert witnesses. So a great deal of that is for payment for the expert witnesses and firms that have looked at different issues for us. So it makes it look like our legal fees are more. We
yeah.
probably should try to get that separated out so you can see it.
Yeah,
But
thanks.
If I might comment on that, coming in as an outside observer, there were two courses of action. One was to retain legal up front and pay them up front. The other was to join a class action. I believe this authority has made a wise decision. If it had joined the class action approach, upon successful completion of that class action litigation, then the class action attorneys would have a right to anywhere from 20 to 30% of the final settlement. In this way, the authority has established the legal investment it will make. And I suspect it will be the legal fees and the supporting fees for that will be significantly less than what it would have had to share with the class action attorneys.
also, keep in mind, we have the only environmental lawyers in the group.
And if things go as planned, we'll be reimbursed for all this.
Yes,
Yeah,
That's right.
I guess
that'll be part of our costs.
in the construction world, you have a GMP, greatest maximum price. I guess it doesn't work that way in the
No,
legal world.
No, it doesn't.
That was a joke.
But, I know.
We love lawyers.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks, John.
Sure.
But I would say, probably at least 50% of that is in our fees for our experts.
Which we're sharing those expert costs on.
Yeah, and we are also sharing those expert costs, and we had millions of documents, not thousands, that had to be gone through that we got from Camorras. And we, the group decided, rather than using everybody's individual lawyers to go through all those fees, we did hire a firm at something like $25 an hour with paralegals going through it. And that in itself, I think, was a tremendous fee. Do you remember, John, how much that was?
I don't. Do you?
It was in the hundred thousands.
Yeah.
It was several hundred thousand. So at some point, we'll try to break that down for y'all so you can see it. It's not all legal.
There was much discussion about which way to go, Ken.
Yeah.
Any
you
other
have a
questions on
question?
budget? Or not budget, monthly financials? That's nice. Okay, next item is the ordinance for
Right.
the consolidation
Can you bring that up?
rate study and economic impact study with Wrightsville Beach.
That's fine. It's in your packet under finance, but this is related to, I think it's number 4, or one of the sub-items under number 4 on the consent agenda. The ARPA legislation gave us the opportunity, in light of the discussions around the consolidation with the town of Wrightsville Beach, to leverage some grant funding. our goal with that was to not only fund a consolidation study, but to also fund some ancillary studies that are related to that consolidation, including a rate study and the development of a rate model in light of that consolidation kind of coming down the pike. And then also a study to quantify the economic impact, both direct and indirect, that this public utility provides to our service area and to the local economy. So we have those resolutions that were approved as part of the consent agenda. This item, I'm pointing to it like it's there, but the item that's in your packet is a budget ordinance that appropriates $400,000 in grant funds from the state to fund those, and then the total project costs of all those studies is $450,000. That remaining $50,000 would come from PAYGO dollars.
Ken, this is related to it, but I read this through and I've heard you speak to it in general. The protection that's going to be built into this to make sure that we don't, our regular ratepayers don't end up paying for the improvements that I know we're going to have to make in Wrightsville Beach. How do you envision isolating those costs and making sure that the Wrightsville Beach ratepayers take care of that system? Or are we looking externally again for money to help rebuild the system in Wrightsville Beach, just to make sure that our regular ratepayers are not having to pay that freight?
Well, I think I can assure the board that the direction we're getting in terms of structuring a consolidation agreement for consideration not by just this board, not just by Wrightsville Beach, but also New Hanover County Board of Commissioners and the City of Wilmington, will ensure that Wrightsville Beach ratepayers bear the cost of consolidation, either upfront or through some payback period.
Right.
That's the direction that we've heard. So we will structure the agreement in that manner that we put before to everybody. What you have here is an appropriation of funding, assuming that we receive grant funding to fund the consolidation. If we do not receive grant funding to fund the consolidation, we have at your next board meeting an interlocal agreement to split the cost of funding that. So I would share that we think we're going to get grant funding. It's very likely. This is something that we spoke to Secretary Visor about, and she spoke in favorable terms of dollars intended for these purposes. If we don't get grant funding, then in your May meeting, we'll come back with an interlocal agreement to split the cost of the study. But thereafter, the study will be structured in such a way as to ensure that CFPUA ratepayers do not fund improvements without being reimbursed. Or said another way, each side will pay for its individual costs.
So I guess, and maybe I'm overthinking this, imagine that. When it comes down to, let's say, in theory, we recognize there's $2 million worth of improvements that need to be made in Wrightsville Beach to bring them up to snuff. Do we not run afoul of, charging some ratepayers, Wrightsville Beach, more money than others? Or do we put that in a separate box, basically, that says, here's the regular rate that you pay, and oh yeah, but if you live in this area, you'll pay an additional assessment or something like that?
So you're right on track. Normally, we're not allowed to differentiate or discriminate between customer classes, but utility consolidations are a special exception. This has occurred across the state, where during a consolidation period, utilities are allowed to charge the merging utility ratepayers more to reimburse the costs of the merger. And that's how the Raleigh system mergers occurred, the Charlotte system mergers occurred, and others. That is one model. We will bring you several models, including a model where the town of Wrightsville Beach can fund it all on their general fund and pay for it all up front. And then their ratepayers will see an immediate merger of the rates. But our direction as your staff is to ensure that the costs of the consolidation are borne by Wrightsville Beach, not the CFPUA ratepayers. I think that's clear direction.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for that explanation.
But the decision of whether Wrightsville Beach pays for it all up front or whether they get it through rates, is that our decision or is that Wrightsville Beach's decision?
To be negotiated.
Okay.
To be negotiated. And then, of course, any proposed consolidation agreement also has to go forward, to my understanding, to New Hanover County and to the city of Wilmington to add them to this authority.
That's just under our existing.
Under our,
Right.
yeah,
Anything, and they both have to agree to it.
right.
So we can't ask for money, but we have to ask for permission for doing anything.
Well, I mean, the city and the county, but the city gave millions of dollars in assets, cash, everything. I
Well, they
mean,
can-
this is what everybody wanted, and we got it. How much does it cost the CFPUA ratepayers, how much has it cost the CFPUA ratepayers to provide water to Wrightsville Beach these last 3 years?
We'd have to better define that question.
Let me ask it a different way. We were humming along, they were humming along, and all of a sudden they needed water. We started giving them water. Have we had any expense to do that?
No. Under the 3-year period, we did offer a special rate, which was an incremental cost rate. And under the contract you've adopted and they have accepted, then they are now paying for things like depreciation and capitalization and other costs. That 3-year period, I don't think we lost anything. That's an appropriate rate. That's done in emergency situations. A long-term contract, as you just signed, it's more appropriate to have a true wholesale rate, and they have one now.
But I don't want anybody to think that just because we're offering them to come onto our system, that we have to pay a lot of money for that, because it's not to our benefit, it's their benefit. So I don't want to be non-regional in thinking, but our ratepayers, when I see these numbers up here on the screen, at some point, we can't keep continuing to tuck this in the back pocket and forget about it, hope that everything works out. Because you don't know what a judge is going to say 5 years from now or 10 years from now. I just want to make sure that where every penny we save, we save.
Absolutely. And I do believe from my work experience in managing and working under other consolidations, that we can bring forward a packet that will work for everybody in the structure that you've given us. This appropriation will allow us to do those detailed studies, very detailed, and we believe we'll get a grant to cover all or most of the costs.
But
Any other questions on the ordinance? So move.
Second.
Aye.
All right, next up is the budget review.
All right. So this is your staff's recommendation on the FY23 operating budget. This is a condensed version of what was presented to the Finance Committee last Wednesday. But don't hesitate to ask questions, certainly, and I'm certainly willing to go into as much detail as the board desires. I did want to point something out at the kind of at the beginning of this. We are facing some, or I guess a lot of challenges this year, and we'll get into the detail of that. But just considering those challenges, and being good neighbors, good customer service stewards for our certainly our governmental customers and our retail customers, we are wanting to move towards adopting a budget in May, which is a month earlier than normal. So by statute, we have to adopt by July 1, and we can certainly do that. But we felt as a staff that we'd like to move towards a recommendation and adoption in May as opposed to June. So I just wanted to kind of tuck that in your minds before we start this presentation. So I just wanted to kind of go over just a little bit of an overview of what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to present a comparison compared to FY22, showing the FY23 recommended numbers both from an expenditure side and from a revenue side. And I'm going to talk about, given those challenges that I kind of referred to, is a look at what that means for an average monthly bill under a just-in-time kind of rate increase scenario, meaning that there's no smoothing. We're not dipping into fund balance to smooth out the effects over 2, 3, or more years. I want to talk about, kind of what's driving rates and what's, those kind of key assumptions and factors that are incorporated into the FY23 budget that we'll see. I want to talk about some alternatives to that just-in-time scenario, looking at a smoothing over 2 years and a smoothing over 3 years. Want to highlight just some major decisions, including the level of PFAS removal. We're going to talk a little bit about salary increases to keep up with inflation and also to address some of the retention issues that Mr. Reimenbark and Mr. Zappel were discussing earlier. And finally, just talk about that budget adoption timeline. Again, looking to move that forward in May and what those next steps are. And then we're kind of introducing this new mechanism to get some feedback from you all. This budget notes process, we've already received a couple after the finance meeting, so we'll just talk through how that process is going to work. So this is our budget recommendation for FY23. You can see that it's $103.2 million. That's compared to $92 million that was adopted in FY22. So that's a $11.1 million increase. In percentage terms, 12.1%. So looking at on the cost side, you can see these relatively high numbers here. Again, that's first and foremost due to PFAS included in this operating budget. Of this $103 million, there's almost $8 million that's budgeted in there to address PFAS. The other drivers too, we're also, as everyone knows, faced with inflationary pressures. Also looking at, what we need to do internally to retain and certainly attract, the talent pool that we'd like, to address some of those issues that we discussed earlier. And there's also $1 million that's in here that's geared towards executing the strategic plan that we're going to talk about after this meeting. On the revenue side, you can see everything has to be balanced, right? But you can see these decreases here in these non-rate revenues. SDCs, this appropriated fund balance piece, that was kind of a measure that we did to avoid having to recommend a rate increase last year. What that means is if these numbers drop compared to the prior year, that difference has to be made up somewhere, and that somewhere is rates. So that's another kind of factor that has pressure on rates. So this is just a look historically over the past 5 years of where the average residential bill has been on a monthly basis. This assumes 4,100 gallons of consumption per month. And you can see that we haven't had a rate increase since FY19, and it moved up marginally from a little over $62 to just under $64 at $63.80. It's remained flat over the past 3 years. And so under a just-in-time, that's, if we were to fully fund this increase, that 12.1% increase through rates, right, it would look like this, okay? For context, I've included what it would look like if we didn't have PFAS, okay? So what we're looking at, including PFAS, is moving from $63.80 here to $72.18 there. It's an increase of $8.38, or a little over 13%. Okay, if not for PFAS, that increase would go from $63.80 and would go up to $2.46. And that would only be a 3.85%, a little under 4% increase. So that's kind of the sense of scale. So 71% of this 13% is attributable to PFAS. And just a little rule of thumb as we kind of go through some of these drivers, and this is not exact, but just for kind of a sense of scale and to give you some context, for every $1 million change in a driver, so costs go up $1 million, non-rate revenues go down $1 million, whatever, that has a 1% impact on the average monthly bill. So just wanted to throw that out there. Charlie, this is your favorite slide.
Love it. Love the color.
So this is just a comparison of, let's just assume that we were to go with that just-in-time rate increase, and that would result in a 13% increase to the average monthly bill. Where would that put us in comparison to our peers? Now, I want to say that got to put this in context, is that these numbers for our peers that are included here, those are based on what their current rates are, and it doesn't factor in any increases that they may enact for FY23, okay? And in talking to some of my peers, the consensus is they're looking at between a 5 and 10% increase in the average monthly bill. So, so you can see kind of how we compare. If not for PFAS, we would be tucked in well under actually, about $66 under this median for all North Carolina utilities. So just to give some context there. Let's see. So,
John,
sure.
Will there come a time soon when we'll know what the other authorities and other companies are doing?
Not officially. Well, I guess, they're having similar discussions now, and that's public record, and, we can start, looking at some of that stuff. If you'd like, I can compile.
Don't go to any extra, I just, 'cause, I mean, that was impressive that we're where we are and comparing it with last year's numbers.
Sure.
Yeah. I know they're going to, like you said, 5 to 10%.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And that considered the full increase, correct?
That's right. That was the full 13. Still looking kind of favorable, but, I don't want to dismiss the fact that, 71% of that increase PFAS, I mean, we're facing some unprecedented challenges, in terms of not only that, but the other challenges that all utilities are facing, inflation and, this tight labor market. So, in general, just talking about, what's driving rates, right? And we've already hit on it, right? We talked about non-rate revenues, and, to the extent that those go down, that has to be made up through rates, right? No brainer.
John, before you move on.
Sure.
How in the Sam Hill can Brunswick County is looking at a $120 million RO plant? Can they, or does this figure, the $63.70 for Brunswick Regional there, not include any of the numbers for their RO plant?
So this is Brunswick County with the RO up here.
Oh,
Now, this doesn't include any increases that they would obviously be proposing for FY23. This number down here is H2Go over there. And I think they've already announced that they're not going to, I saw a commercial, I think a couple days ago, that they're not going to increase rates this year.
Wow. Okay.
But I do believe that they have a facility under construction.
Mm-hmm.
So like ourselves, we held rates steady while constructing a facility. I suspect that you were looking at future rate increases to manage that debt load. We can reach out to them and talk to them. The other alternative is they may be getting it from system development charges. Our system development charges, as you just approved, are $4,390.
Fine, yeah.
Theirs, if I understand it correctly, are in the $7,000 range.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a good part of the conversation because I'm always confronted with, in Brunswick County, they have this. And so, thank you.
Okay, so the next, factor, obviously, right, those two big drivers of rates is the number of customers phrased in terms of ERUs and consumption. For ERUs, planning on growth during the year of 3.4%, both on the water and the wastewater side. And then in terms of consumption, looking at a 2% billed consumption for both water and wastewater. Just FYI, and there's a slide that's kind of after the presentation, a little ancillary slide that kind of breaks this down, but the benefit that's coming from this growth here roughly offsets this. Now, I don't want to conflate the two, right? Because if we were looking at this and non-rate revenues were the same as they were last year, we wouldn't be talking about a 13%, we'd be talking about maybe a 10 or an 11. So, but they do kind of roughly cancel out. The biggest driver, obviously, is the cost to operate the system, and we looked, on one of those first slides at that comparison to FY22, looking at an $11.1 million increase compared to last year. And again, those drivers, inflation, generationally or historically high inflation we're seeing. Looking at, I think the latest CPI numbers that came out, I think it's, 8.4%. I think that came out yesterday. The municipal cost index has not released their March numbers yet. As of February, it was 10.4%. That's kind of the landscape that we're looking at. That inflationary piece obviously has an impact on what we pay our employees, right? We want our compensation to certainly keep up with the cost of living. So that kind of is factored into, I guess, two places here. There's a little bit of an overlap. But that's certainly a driver, trying to have our compensation keep up with that, big inflationary number. Also looking at, again, some measures to address, employee retention, some new positions, reclasses, funding for initiatives that are consistent with the strategic plan that you'll hear about, and then, of course, last and certainly not least is the PFAS. So this is just a little more detail of that. Kind of just looking at the inflationary impacts, what we did is we constructed this continuation budget, or baseline budget is what we call it. So the cost of delivering the services that we provide today with the same level of staff at the same level of pay, okay? And under that scenario, under those assumptions, we're looking at almost $3 million due to inflation. There's a couple other things in there as well. Some benefits mandates, the employer portion of the retirement contribution is going up, and we're also factoring in some increases for the employer share of health premiums. This piece right here, this compensation piece, again, this kind of cost of living component, which is the biggest, part of this 2.6 million, and there's an ancillary slide that kind of breaks this down in more detail. But, recognizing that inflation affects, our lower earning employees more than relatively higher earning employees, we have implemented or recommended to implement a tiered cost of living adjustment for our employees, where 261 employees, I think, would get a 10% cost of living adjustment. Roughly between 50 and 60 employees would get an 8%, and then around 50 employees would get around 60 employees, I believe, would get the 5%.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How are those those increases compared to the people in the upper echelon earning, middle, and lower?
Tell me, yeah.
Okay. Go back, go to your percentages you just said.
Okay, yeah, so 261 employees getting a 10%. Around, what was it, Lori? I think it's between 50 and 60 are getting...
216, 51, and 60.
There you go, 216, 51, and 68, 10, 8, 5.
And the retention issues are falling in which of those three categories?
The 260.
Yeah,
and that's where the larger, just want to make sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then there's additional things as well. So what we've done is we've taken some steps to expand the STEP programs that are in certain departments and in certain positions to make sure that, as employees gain competencies and demonstrate, that they are productive, employees that we'd like to incentivize to stay, that they are moving, through the range and they're getting increases and they're not kind of stuck in this one specialized position. So there's some provisions for that. We also, kind of based on some data from Cape Fear Collective, and looking at, the cost of what it takes to live in this county under different scenarios, one adult, one child, a two-bedroom house, to rent a two-bedroom apartment, that kind of stuff. What we saw is, under those various self-sufficiency standards, that 45% of our employees are earning under those self-sufficiency standards, and that kind of drove this decision here, or this provision here, to increase our minimum hiring salaries. And there's some more detail on that, later that if you'd like to get into. And then also just kind of sticking to and enforcing a minimum compensation ratio based on years of service. And Lori, you might have to help me, but if you're here for 3 years, we want to make sure that you're earning at least 80% of the midpoint of the pay grade that you are in. I think it's 90% after 5 years, and then 100% after 7 years, just to make sure that, when employees, kind of stay longer, that they're not stagnating. It just gives kind of that additional incentive to remain with us, and those investments that we've made, Charlie, that you were talking about in terms of training and those types of things, that we're realizing that full benefit.
John, one additional question. So the 2.6 million for compensation, does that just include the cost of living adjustments, or is part of that budget also a merit? Or do you have merit increases built in within that 2.6?
So we made a decision this year to not have any merit component, and we kind of looked back at it, and looked at what impact merits have had historically compared to what people actually receive in terms of that increase, and it wouldn't have really materially changed these numbers, but it certainly would have introduced a whole set of questions and special cases from our staff.
But then the 10.85 is also separate from any market penetration adjustments based on.
That's right. So there's these separate provisions in the second bullet that are separate from that cost of living adjustment, but those two combined is
Make
the
up the
2.6. And I can just look. Let's see if I can do this. Sorry. Oh man. Hopefully I can find it. I think it's right here. Yeah, just a relative census. Yeah. See, so here's your kind of total number, and there's the breakdown. See, the lion's share is this cost of living component. Those additional adjustments that we were talking about breaks down this way, and then we have kind of a combined benefit costs for both of them that are lumped in there. Okay, so find my place again. Okay, so looking at new positions. So we have four new positions that are funded and included as part of this recommendation. We have 2 in customer service that are driven by some the increases in bill processing and payment processing from implementation of monthly billing. Looking at some redundancy for some critical positions in IT, and that's what you see there. There was some discussion in the Finance Committee about this, kind of this last piece here. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are part of our strategic plan, and it's something that will be included in what Elizabeth's going to talk about in her presentation. We chose not to fund it in the recommendation initially. I think what we wanted to do as a staff was to develop a plan, do some research, benchmark, come to the board with a recommendation on what the board thinks DE&I should look like for this organization, to talk about what those outcomes are, what those goals are, and a resource plan, dollars, staffing, those kinds of things. To potentially fund that position mid-year if we so chose. We have a budget note on this to incorporate it and go ahead and fund it as part of this budget. The cost is around $100,000. That's all in salary and benefits. Any questions? And just those last two things, strategic initiatives, I'm not focusing a lot on that because Elizabeth will cover that in a lot of detail later. And then again, PFAS, that's that $8 million roughly that I was referring to, driven most significantly by $3.7 million for the GAC media replacement. That assumes that highest level of PFAS removal. Kind of the second biggest driver is the debt service that's related to the Sweeney upgrade project. So that's not all of the 2019 debt service, that's the allocated portion that belongs to that project, that $43 million project.
John, just before you move on, I just want to make sure I have this right. The DEI inclusion officer is not included in this budget. It's a zero item, right?
Right.
And
I thought you said it was.
It will be authorized as part of the budget, so that position will be created. The plan was to have some discussions with the board to develop, what those goals and outcomes would look like, and a resource plan to move maybe mid-year once that decision had been made to fund that position maybe mid-year.
But John, later in his presentation, we're going to describe the budget development process. We're proposing something, and then we're going to have a period of time to take what we call budget notes, feedback. We've already received feedback that it's appropriate to present the funding costs of this position for any final recommendation. So John will discuss more than that. The initial proposal was zero funding, authorize the position, mid-year tie funding to goals and objectives. The feedback at the Finance Committee was go ahead and give us the costs associated with authorizing the position now. Or funding the position now.
Ken, if I can just add on to that, and I know at the county we've now had, I guess, 2 years of Linda Thompson as our DEI officer. And I think it's safe to say, and certainly from my opinion, I believe it's shared, we didn't know what we didn't know. And having that person in that position has made a significant difference, across the enterprise. I know we have 2,000 employees. So in my opinion, we can't get to it quick enough so that we can begin to make those changes. I understand financially, and we're, oddly enough, in a crunch. And I'm certainly supportive of what we're doing, but please don't let this one get kicked down the road. We really need it.
I'd like to know why.
Mm-hmm.
Give me some hard examples.
We found at the county when Linda came on.
I'm not talking about the county. I'm talking about CFPUA. What is driving this? I don't understand what's driving it. I never understood why we did it at the city. Our percentages are above where a lot of people would think they are. Nobody's been clamoring for a DEI, yet we've got it. I don't think it's a fad, but everybody's got to have a DEI officer.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes at great expense. Mm-hmm. And if I'm out here on a limb by myself, saw me off. I'm just telling you, I don't get it. I mean, I haven't had anybody in the 12, 11, or 10 years I've been on this board ever call me and say they felt like they were being treated unfairly. I think it's quite the opposite. I think our numbers are good. If they're not, damn it, it's somebody's fault at the top for not keeping them good. So that's where I come from on this. I disagree with you wholeheartedly, Rob.
Well, I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree on that.
Sure.
And I think the benefits that we've seen for our entire county, and again, that experience has been remarkable. And it certainly opened my eyes, department by department, and we were able to look at some departments that were doing, as you just mentioned, much better than others in this, but others where we did not have any diversity at all, and that was a weak point that we had, that now taking steps to correct that, to better reflect what's happening in our community. So.
Maybe we could have a neutral person come in and make a presentation to us about what the advantages are, so we could have a discussion about it. Something that wouldn't take a lot of the board's time. Maybe someone from the county or the city who feels like they could sort of come in and be the plaintiff and sell us on.
I mean,
but yeah, I hear
this has never come up in any of the meetings that I've ever attended at the CFPUA. It's never come up, and all of a sudden here it is. It's a mystery to me.
We have like employee surveys. I mean, do we have any indication from the workforce that there is a need for this? I mean, what's the, don't we have,
We've not
Because-
currently done like an employee engagement survey, that's.
yeah,
We do have demographic information that we can share. So if you'd like, we will take Dr. Cannon's suggestion of providing additional information on this topic, and we will include it as a budget note in terms of what are our demographics across various departments and within the organization. And we'll see if there are any opportunities to provide additional information about the benefits of having a position focused on improving diversity and inclusion as a budget note.
The other possibility is we may have existing talent within the organization that could accomplish what the goals are if we identify them, so.
That's,
Just in the
I
interest
mean,
of
it's almost
being-
like it should be part of everybody's job description anyway, rather than creating a new position.
that's why we recommended what you see. It's something of a compromise. It's authorizing a position, but it's giving, it's not funding it, it's giving staff time to work with the HR committee and then the board in a broader sense to define what are the goals, objectives, and challenges. And then determine, are there internal resources within HR to tackle those? If not, the position's authorized, we only need to fund it. So that was kind of the logic of the budget proposal, to try to get that done within the first 6 months of the fiscal year. And then by mid-year, have a conversation about whether there is an actual position or need. But we have received feedback from some of your peers that it's appropriate to fund it now. So we are putting that in, that funding before you as a budget note to be considered as in the final conversation.
Okay, so we talked about those drivers, non-rate revenues, those revenue assumptions, and then, obviously the costs, and we focused most of the time there. I wanted to talk about rate scenarios other than this just-in-time. So we talked about the just-in-time, scenario, looking at a 13% increase in FY '23. That's a double-digit increase. That's one of the larger ones, if not the largest, increase that I think we've may have faced since the inception of the authority. So what we wanted to do was look at some other options, a 2-year smoothing option and a 3-year smoothing option. The 2-year smoothing option would involve 8% roughly increases in the average monthly bill in FY '23 and then again in FY '24. The mechanics of how we do that, we would use $4.2 million in available fund balance to offset some of that rate impact in FY '23. That $4.2 million would create a hole or cause our fund balance to dip below our $50 million target at some point in the future. So we have to backfill it some way. There's 2 ways, either fund it with debt or recover it through rates in some later year. And what this 2-year option does is, kind of fills that $4.2 million hole with $2.5 million in additional capital borrowing, and then it recovers $1.7 million through rates in FY '24. The mechanism for the 3-year smoothing, it would result in roughly 7% increases. It's actually more like 6.5% in FY '23, '24, 25. Same kind of thing there. We would use $7.2 million in available fund balance, have the same issue there, $7.2 million hole. How do we fill it? $2.5 million in debt, and that remaining 4.7 we recover through rates in FY '25 and FY '26.
Let me flip off that slide. So that, like, both of the smoothing options assume that our fund balance does drop below 50 million, which it has yet to ever do, even though we continue to project that it will. So there's a potential that you don't have to borrow those 2.5 in future years.
That's a great point. These are all projections. It's based on a model to the extent that the assumptions don't fit exactly to what's in the model.
Because we've never, we continue to model that the fund balance is going down, but our current available fund balance is now what?
$70 million.
I'm okay.
70. So we have more than 7.2 million to take out of available fund balance?
Not according to the model, okay? And this is something that I've been wrestling with, is the big driver of that is how much of PAYGO we spend on the capital program. And in my model, I forecast that every single capital dollar that's budgeted to be funded with PAYGO dollars is going to be spent at some point in the future.
Right.
And so, to the extent that that doesn't happen, that's when you start deviating from what this model is saying. So that's a great point, though.
If we're spending the same, on the same projects in this day and age, it wasn't like 3 years ago.
Oh, I know, yeah,
You're
I
gonna
get all,
spend
I get all
that
that, but
And
things
50,
have been going up since we've started this as well,
Basically,
not
since we started
as
this
greater.
meeting.
And making that decision to go with the smoothing doesn't obligate you to borrow an additional 2.5.
Right.
Those decisions will all be
made in the future.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's just, what the model is saying needs to happen in order for that fund balance at some future point to not go below $50 million.
and remind me, John, that 50 magic number comes from bond rating, comes from just comfort level, comes from,
It's mainly driven, so what we have in policy, what we do is every couple of years is we look at the risks that we are exposed to, the magnitude, the likelihood, how much do we need to keep on hand, if something catastrophic were to happen, if we were to see, revenues decrease and a need to, spend a lot of money to make some repairs and, after a major hurricane, something like that, right? That number is relatively small. We could probably get away, with between 15 and $20 million. However, the other consideration, as you mentioned, is the bond rating agencies. And, they look at a couple of metrics. They look at this cash on hand, and they also just look at, undesignated or unrestricted fund balance. And, to kind of maintain where we're at, we need to be around that $50 million number. Now that's the minimum. Now, again, I think Dean's or someone had mentioned this, but several years ago, back in 2017, we had $126 million out there, and so we've deliberately spent that down for that very purpose. Our goal is to not take money from our community, from our customers, and just sit on it, right? So we can get a AAA bond rating. No. We want to, maintain that balance, right? What protects us, what's attractive to the rating agencies, but yeah, we want to deploy all those resources that we've pulled out, so.
Are we subject to local government commission guidelines?
Yes.
That's right.
If I might, Mr. Chair, John, does your model take into account the uncertainty associated with continued inflation or recessionary factors going forward, or does it make certain assumptions in terms of stability of the market?
What we have for the operating budget factored in terms of inflation is 2% per year. Now that's historically accurate, but when you get in situations like this where there's a 40-year blip, now how long is that going to continue? I wish I knew. I wouldn't be working here. I'd be making a lot more money, right?
You'd be making a lot of
But
money,
yeah, so I think we're seeing a little bit of an inflationary slowdown. I think the growth in the CPI, from February to January, and then when you look at March to February, it didn't increase as much as it did from January to February. I mean, there may be some slowdown there, but no one knows. But the good thing about it is that we look at this every year. And yes, we like to think and look in context of this model just to make sure that everything kind of checks out from a long-term perspective. But at the end of the day, we're making a short-term decision for what's going to be happening next year. So we'll be having these same discussions next year, and we'll have obviously much more information about next year this time next year.
John, what kind of number do you put in there for growth?
So growth, I think what we have in there is I think it's a 2.1% is what we project out in the future years. Now, what we have compared to what we assumed in FY22, growth in ERUs is 3.4%, because that's just kind of the environment, SDCs, development, we're starting to see that, kind of come to fruition. So 3.4% this year compared to FY22, but I think it's a 2.1% in those out years for the rest of the 10-year model.
John, if I can just add on, I know with some of the decisions we're making today in 2022, especially about the northern part of the county, and making those investments with the county to create those trunk lines up there, the landscape literally of growth and single-family homes and multifamily homes is going to be radically different in a 3, even 4-year period. And so I think we're going to see an acceleration of new customers coming on board here. But I know that's in the future and a lot can happen between them. But we certainly have set ourselves up for really increasing our footprint.
If I might, over the next 10 years of your CIP, you have a roughly $512 million CIP investment. 82% of that's rehab, rehabilitation, repair. About between 15 and 16% is for expansion. I believe that this board and others have acted wisely to invest the special appropriation in trying to ensure that the growth that we anticipate over that time frame materializes. But it's such a volatile topic that I don't know if we can guarantee it will materialize or whether we will have accelerated it or whether it will continue to decline. You've taken every reasonable action to ensure that it continues.
So we need to choose between these 3 choices.
Or some other choice. You could smooth it. You could choose to smooth it out over 6 years. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could. So, but yeah, these are all options that I feel comfortable with. I have a best of the best that I can talk about, and that's just my recommendation.
I want the best of the best.
Okay. Sure. So I can skip right there. This was just a look at kind of what those rates do. FY22 as a starting point over FY27. They all converge after FY27. That's why I only included that range. But just to kind of give you an idea, and yeah, just as a reference point too, if not for PFAS, this number would be down here. We wouldn't even, well, maybe we would, but we wouldn't be talking about these other smoothing scenarios. So yeah, here's kind of the rub, right? When we talk about the financial impacts, right? So we said, in terms of fund balance, there's mechanisms to recover it all. So it's all neutral in terms of fund balance. It all converges after FY27 or closely thereafter. There's some timing, certainly because we're using more under the 3-year than the 2-year, which uses more than the just in time, right? But it all converges. In terms of the debt to capitalization ratio, something that we look at, that's what our debt limit is phrased in terms of, borrowing an additional $2.5 million compared to a debt load that's projected to be around $414 million, when we do the South Side project, in relation to a total capital asset infrastructure value of over $1 billion. That's drop in the bucket, right? So it doesn't impact that ratio. Where it does come into play is this debt service coverage ratio, which is something that is implicit in our rate covenant. So we are legally obligated to meet a certain level of debt service coverage as part of our bond covenant. And it's also something that the rating agencies look at, right? And so you can just see, kind of the impact here on debt service coverage. This is the just in time. Here we are. We want to be between 1.6 and 1.8. You'll see both numbers, but if we're in this band, we're good. So here we got 1.7, and okay, and then this kind of converges there. Everything looks great, right? If we were to do that just in time. Where you see that dip below this 1.6 is with these smoothing kind of scenarios here, and that's because the fund balance that we're using to fund those expenditures, that fund balance is not a revenue that counts in that debt service coverage calculation, right? And so, since we're using fund balance, we don't have enough revenue coming in FY '23 to meet this 1.6. Now, since we backfill it, we do $2.5 million in additional debt, but then there's another $1.7 million that's being recovered in FY '24 to backfill the rest of what we took from fund balance, or what we were projected to take from fund balance under the 2-year, is it drives that coverage number up. And that same kind of effect happens here where, under the 3-year, it's even lower, and then it comes up, and then it goes way up, right? And so it's kind of a timing difference. It all kind of averages out. It all smooths out. Unfortunately, the rating agencies don't look at it like that. They look at it every year, and I will get questions, and which is totally fine. And I do feel that either or any of these options are defensible and appropriate, but I will get questions from the rating agencies on why coverage dipped. Now, I can explain it and say that, hey, we're facing these pressures, and this is part of a deliberate plan, to smooth out that effect, right? The other thing that they factor in as well that this decision kind of relates to is, so on the quantitative side, it's this debt service coverage piece. On the qualitative side, they like to look for evidence of the board doing rate increases when there is political or other environmental pressure to not do so. There is, in the rubric, there is a piece for that. And so obviously from that standpoint, the just-in-time would be the most preferable. The 2-year would be a little less preferable. The 3-year would be a little less preferable than the 2-year. But certainly I can defend any of these. So
to be super granular, how often do they come to the table and give us a grade? Once a year, once every
Right,
month?
so formally we go, anytime we go out for a bond issue, we'll go through that process. Now, in the meantime, they do intermediate grades, right? And they will, if something really bad happens, they could potentially downgrade us even though we're not looking to issue debt, right?
Right.
And so I have a call with Moody's and S&P every single year, and they give me, kind of an updated, 3-pager sheet with metrics and, all this kind of stuff, and we sit down and we have a conversation about it.
Because it looks to me on the 2-year smooth, we're out of the woods pretty quickly.
That's right, that's right.
So,
And here's the other caveat, going back to this whole model concept, right? These are projections.
right.
So if we don't spend as much as we're budgeting for FY '23, or if revenues are higher than where we projected them to be, that means that number is going to go up. Now, what that does mean though is the 2-year model, or the 2-year option, has a greater likelihood than this 3-year model or option of being above that one, at or above that 1.6.
And we're just talking about a couple bucks a month on that
Under the
monthly billing. If we do the 2-year option, people's bills go up by an average of what?
I got a slide for that.
I know you did. I read it somewhere.
So yeah, this is a comparison of where we're currently at, right? This is FY '22. This assumes 4,100 gallons of consumption, right? $63.80. Under the just-in-time, that would go up, and we talked about it, $72.18. 2-year smoothing is going to be less than that, $68.97. And I didn't update this.
I was gonna say.
It is updated in your presentation there. It didn't get updated in the PowerPoint, but it is updated. Let me flip to it real quick. I caught that yesterday.
It's a little more, basically.
I caught that. Yeah, it'll be a little less than the 2-year.
67. So
Okay, yeah, 67.
it seems to me putting risk to reward. I don't know. My gut is that 2-year thing is the way to go. 2-year smoothing is the way to go. But
Well, that's what I thought.
it's just my own.
So for the reasons that I just talked about, I think another thing that Ms. Adams pointed out as well is when you're looking at the increase in the average monthly bill, going from this $63.80 to whatever that number was, $68 and something under the 2-year. That's right. That's about a $5 increase, which is right in line with what we've communicated, I guess, starting probably 3 or 4 years ago, right, when we were talking about when the GAC went live, right? So that's kind of another added perk there, I guess, that is consistent with what we previously told customers. And I think I covered all the rest of that, but I can talk about it all day. So these are the key decisions, those kind of big drivers, and we talked about these in finance. As far as the level of PFAS removal, what's currently factored into this recommendation is that highest level of treatment or highest level of removal. I think, if I remember correctly, there was some consensus in finance around that, but that's certainly something that is up for discussion. And then we can do a budget note for. I mean, just using that kind of rule of thumb there, you're looking at what, $2.3 million decrease between this one and that one. That's about 2%. We'd be looking at instead of a 13%, looking at like an 11%, right? Under the just-in-time. I don't know how that would factor in terms of those other scenarios, but that's what we have the budget note process for. The other piece is, talking about the salary increase part, kind of that cost of living piece. I guess mainly that's the biggest dollar driver, and then also those other measures aimed at improving retention and reducing turnover. Is that recommendation appropriate? That's another piece. I guess I will mention that the 1085 was based on the year-over-year CPI as of, I think it was February, right? And that number was around 7%. And so that's kind of, where that recommendation was kind of built around. Since that time, we have seen it increase. But, you have to cut it off somewhere, but it certainly wouldn't be out of line to look at, moving those numbers up. And I could do some kind of analysis on that. Or if you don't think that, if someone doesn't think that 1085 is appropriate at all, everyone should get a 5, for example, or something, we can also do that. Just to give you an idea of what that would mean for the budget and then certainly for rates. And then, what we just talked a lot about this rate scenario. That's a big decision. Do we do it all in 1 year, or do we try to smooth it out over 2 or 3 years, or maybe more? So this is our calendar. We got a lot of drivers, some challenges this year. We've kind of highlighted those key decisions. And so, and again, in light of, wanting to maybe move something forward and get a message out to our customers, as soon as we can, looking to adopt in May, there's some work that we need to do between this meeting and Finance Committee on May 4th. And so, what we introduced to the Finance Committee was this budget note process where you can send me an email, you can send Ken an email on whatever scenario you would like to have more info on. It could be something around the salaries, it could be a 5-year smoothing, anything, or a combination. And what our intent is to respond to those in the weekly updates that go out every Friday, to get all that information out ahead of this May 4th meeting, where we can come back to finance with, hey, these are the options that the various board members have laid out. That deadline, I know it's a kind of a quick turnaround. We got a week from today, right? Okay. So April 20th, that'll give me a week to respond back to all of those by April 27th. So, and then I'll have a little bit of time to incorporate those into what we take to finance in May. If there's some consensus in finance, and finance so chooses to make a budget recommendation that they want the board to consider, they can. If that does not happen, then we can always wait till June. By statute, we don't have to adopt till July 1 or before July 1, right? So those are just the options there. Obviously, there's this other stuff like the rate and fee schedule, and I think the capital improvement plan we'll be bringing in May as well. And then this next slide is just optional. If we don't adopt in May, it would be pushed back a month, and that's what the slide has here. All right. Any questions?
Any budget notes from the table beyond Dr. Cannon's budget note?
we had this same situation at another board I'm on about keeping rates even for extended periods of time. And then when the cows come home, you gotta go up to cover the years that you didn't. I would not be opposed to at least having a discussion about having incremental rates on a yearly basis. I mean, a customer is likely gonna notice that 75 cents, $1, $1.50, $2 a day. I mean, they know it, but it's not, it doesn't affect them as bad, and I think we always can use it. I mean, it's great to leave them flat. It's hard to argue against that, but when it comes to things like this, it's something that, it's an option.
We can certainly give that, we'll take that as a budget note from the table to share what rate smoothing would look like post 27, I think, is where your model converged for these three options.
Right, but if I understand you, Charlie, so, right, and some utility boards are committed to doing that, where, hey, we're gonna do, you know, a 1% increase pretty much every year. If we need to, it'll be a little higher, but we kind of project out some trajectory and we start smoothing it out. And Donna actually gave me some interesting context and said, and I'm not sure if you were on the board back during formation, but Brent McAbee, who was the first CFO, I think that was his intent. And you know, we kind of fell off of that. It's certainly an option that, you know, that we can talk about. There's upsides and downsides. There's trade-offs, right? So, you know, if we commit to this, you know, kind of smoothed out method, it results in a little bit of inefficiency, right? We got a little bit of fund balance build up, but you're counting on, well, needing that and exhausting it when, well, you know, the rate increase, you know, if we didn't do that would have been 5%. Now we only got to go up maybe 2%, and we can pull, you know, from that fund balance. But it's kind of a trade-off with, well, we have the luxury of saying, we're not increasing rates, but, you know, with that comes the I guess the discipline when needed to potentially do a 13 or an 8% or something like that. So it's a balance, and we can certainly talk about that.
Thanks.
Yep.
We'll take that as a budget note, and we'll give you some feedback on that. So we have two budget notes from the table.
Thanks, John. So for finance, next we move to sustainability, Dr. Cannon.
Yeah, we had, I'll be brief, we're running kind of long. We had a great meeting. We had our first official committee meeting with Kat Holman, and the notes are in your packet. I will say that it's nice as sort of an onboarding practice for her. She kind of ran through a summary of the projects we've been working on and updated us, the affordability piece, the resiliency piece, our greenhouse gas inventory. So it was a very informative meeting. She also has been doing some research on best practices and innovations of various utilities around pretty much the East Coast, some from North Carolina, a couple from the East Coast, maybe one from the West Coast. Just innovative ideas that other utilities are coming upon to reduce their footprint. So that was very interesting. And she gave us a little bit of background on her background. And just so you know, if you have any questions about composting, we have a composting expert, both municipal and, you know, home composting, which is an interesting finding. But anyway, thanks again, Kat, and welcome aboard again.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Human Resource Committee.
The minutes are in the notes are in the packet. No action.
Is there any, there's no present?
No, I think
Okay.
all the work we've done is already reflected in the
Okay.
in the budget.
All right. Will that take any old business or closing comments today?
I just wanted to say that the Vaughn's, those, I've seen those ads, they really are good. The pro
Yeah, they are.
anti-chemours or whatever, got to come up against them, they look really good.
Continuation of that outreach is proposed in this year's budget, just as an FYI. It's part of that strategic plan initiative that we'll be talking about.
Did you all see that Morris has initiated a public petition to support their plan to dump a little bit more PFAS up at the new.
We're working on
There's-
comments NPDS permit.
Soliciting a cheerleading squad for their plan. It's pretty impressive.
We look at the gall in the dictionary. It's just-
Well,
it's really-
and my husband says
It's a
they're,
sonic noise.
but my husband says they're getting a lot of heat in the business circles about what's happening.
They
And
are.
I, more so now than a year or two ago. So that, I think, is interesting to hear about. Court press, PR wise, but.
Okay, with no closed session, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
I moved. Second.
All in favor?
How much time?